Hey guys, and welcome back to another weekly update. I apologize for not having one for you guys last week. I was actually really sick, and there was also just no news, so I didn't end up getting around to it anyways. Anything that did happen between like Saturday, Sunday till now wasn't all that important enough that I felt like I had to get it out that day. But we're here now. We're going to do this one. We've got 5 more days left till pitchers and catchers report to spring training. So we're right there. Next time I see you guys next week, all of our pitchers and catchers will have already had their first full day of practice. So almost there, guys. Just got to make it through a couple more days, and then, 2 more weeks, and we'll have our first game 2 weeks from tomorrow. So let's get into it. We've got a lot to talk about, not a lot necessarily around any move the Dodgers have been making, but kind of just what's going on throughout the league, possible rule changes, things like that are all kind of interesting and definitely something I think we should all know about just because they are going to affect the game. So I'm going to be heading out, just so you guys know, I'm going to be heading out to spring training in 2 weeks for the first game, heading out for my birthday, and then I actually plan on going out 2 more weekends after that. I will, of course, do my videos and blog as much as possible that I can out there. So do me a favor and make sure you guys hit that subscribe button below because you're not going to want to miss these videos if you weren't around for the ones last year. Just to give you an idea, I kind of show you everything. The games, what Camelback Ranch looks like, or if I visit another stadium, if I try the foods there. They're a little bit more basic than regular season, so it's not as exciting, but you still get an idea. I show you the practice field, what it's like when you're right there really close with the players, when they're signing autographs. If I'm able to talk to them, I'll record that. But it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot less stressful than regular season, obviously. So they're fun videos. I enjoy doing them. I hope you guys enjoy watching them, but I will have a few of those up for you guys. So hopefully you enjoy them, and we'll see how they go. But today the Dodgers actually released their list of non-roster invitees to spring training. So I want to give you guys a heads up on that. Some of these names you'll notice, some of them are in the top 100 prospect list we talked about a couple weeks ago. Some of them you may not recognize the names at all. And as for others, we actually just signed them this off season to some minor league deals. So you might recognize their name from a different team, or possibly someone we also talked about a few updates ago. So all of the pitchers, the pitchers are Stetson Alley, Joe Broussard, Daniel Corsino, Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May, Kevin Quackenbush, Josh Smoker, Jessen Therion, and Mitchell White. So those are all the pitchers that are not on the roster that'll be at spring training. For our catchers, we have Will Smith and Josh Thole, I'm guessing is how you say it. But we've all heard about Will Smith. A lot of people, especially with the Real Muto trade happening, not with us, obviously. We'll talk about that in a minute. But a lot of people are expecting him to actually be our starting catcher come around the All-Star break. So hopefully he's ready to go, can get him plenty of at-bats during spring, and we see him up in a Dodgers uniform not too long from now. As for the infielders, we've got Daniel Castro, Omar Estevez, Gavin Lux, Jake Peter. Jake Peter was out there last year, did really well. Didn't seem to translate much into the season, I believe, seemed to be a spring training thing. Gavin Lux is also a name to keep a really close eye on. He's up there in the Dodgers top 10, and he was on the top 100 prospect list as well. So he's really good guy to keep an eye out for. He's a shortstop now. A lot of people think they're going to actually move him to second base, just kind of based on his arm strength, and we have Corey Seager. So this guy I think is actually expected to be up in 2020, so I would for sure pay attention to him. Outfielders are Ezekiel Carrera, Kyle Garlick, Paolo Orlando, Cameron Perkins, DJ Peters, and Shane Peterson. A couple of these guys we actually signed this offseason to minor league deals. You might recognize some of the names like Orlando, and I believe Perkins was one as well. And then there's DJ Peters, who a lot of us heard about last spring training. Absolutely killed it. A lot of power. He's played in AA, hasn't reached AAA yet, struggled in AA with his strikeout numbers. I believe he was at like a 32% strikeout rate, but he hit a lot of home runs. And when he was in single A, he was leading the league in a lot of categories, I believe RBIs, stuff like that. So he's a big, big right-handed bat, long hair, blonde guy, almost kind of like our Thor kind of guy. Big dude. Can't miss him when you're out there. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He's signed for so many fans after the games, after practice. He was one of the last guys out there every day. So definitely keep an eye on him. He's exciting to watch. Don't know if we would see him on the big league team this year at all, especially, well, if they have the September call-ups, but we'll get into that a little bit more. I don't think that rule changed this year, but if it did, it would affect him, I think. But other than that, he's a good one to watch, so keep an eye out for all those guys. I don't know if you guys heard, but Ross Stripling actually just came out with a podcast. It is called The Big Swing. You can find it on Spotify. I don't know if it's on Apple yet. You can also find it, I think he has it on Stitcher. But if you go to his Twitter, you'll find a link for it. You can also he has a Twitter for his account. I think it's The Big Swing, at The Big Swing. I don't know if it's at The Big Swing podcast, but you can get more information. His podcast is about sports, pop culture, business, and just plenty of other things kind of going on. He's released 3 episodes. The third one was released today. I haven't listened to it yet. The one I did listen to, though, was like an actual full-length episode. He interviewed former NFL quarterback Jared Johnson. And his new episode that came out today is actually titled Ben Fairchild Spring Training Super Bowl. So you'll know what those episodes are about. You can check that out. I'm sure it would be actually really cool to hear from a player's perspective, see what it's like for Stripling when he goes into spring training, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure he'll have interviews with players. So I think that'll be a cool thing. I'm excited to listen to his upcoming episodes, but just wanted to let you guys know about that. And unfortunately, this is some actually really, really sad news. I want to bring it up because it is something that happens at games and people need to be paying attention, and it's scary. But earlier this week, there was a report that came out that a woman actually had died from a foul ball that hit her back at Dodger Stadium in August. We haven't heard anything from the team. The family seems to be out and speaking about it. I don't know why MLB or the Dodgers have not spoken about this at all. I don't know if the family had asked or the team had asked for it to be quiet until the settlement was made. I believe it was the daughter who said they did reach a settlement with the Dodgers. They didn't sound angry at the team. They're obviously very upset about losing a loved one. Makes a lot of sense. I believe she was celebrating her 79th birthday. So many people had great things to say about her. So it's just devastating news. She was sitting up in Loge, which a lot of people may think you don't even have to worry about it up there, but apparently the ball just made it over the net. And those things are coming at you fast. And if you're not paying attention, and even if you are paying attention, sometimes it's just not enough. And I don't even know how to explain it. I can't imagine what her family had to go through. And it's the third time in history it's happened. Unfortunately, it's the second time at Dodger Stadium. The player that hit it was a Padres player. Not that it matters, but thought you guys would want to know or ask me who the Dodger player was. It wasn't a Dodger player. But just when you go to games, be aware at all times. If you're sitting next to younger kids, elderly, try and pay attention for them as well. Help out as much as you can. It's a scary situation. Breaking your hand, whatever it may be, losing your drink, your food, 100% better than getting nailed in the head with a ball. Nobody should ever have to go to a baseball game and deal with that. Sounds like it may cause MLB to talk more about nets. Someone was talking about, I forget where I saw it, but possibly extending it like Japan, which I believe the net goes all the way down to the foul pole line, possibly even raising them higher to protect Loge. So we'll see what happens, but just please pay attention when you go to games. I know she probably was, and things happen, and I feel terrible for her family. Nobody should ever have to deal with that. But back to better news. The Dodgers gear and equipment truck actually left for Arizona on Tuesday. This might not sound exciting, but it was truck day. It's always fun. You kind of see them loading everything up, then you see them get to Camelback, unload it, follow them on Dodgers Twitter, Instagram, probably even on their Snapchat. Haven't checked there yet, but it's really cool, just exciting, gets people ready to go for spring training, and a lot of the players have been showing up. Ryu's been there, Turner's been there. I there's been a few of them. The pictures haven't been the greatest, so I haven't seen all of them, but it's looking like guys are slowly starting to pour in, get in there a little bit early for some extra work, and get ready to go for that first workout next week for the pitchers and catchers. And then I think full squad workout is the following week. So no matter what, all of our guys are going to be out there pretty soon. That's really it for Dodger news. I wanted to get into 2 more things that I think are important to us as fans, and also just it is the Dodgers were involved. This one is about the JT Realmuto trade. I see a lot of fans very upset, understandably so, that the Dodgers did not pick up JT. I wanted him. I was fine with giving up Ruiz, even though Ruiz is supposed to have an incredibly high ceiling, supposed to be a very good prospect, only 20 years old, where Realmuto I think is going to be 28 before opening day. But he would have helped the team win now. Here's the thing, though. I completely understand why fans are upset and feel like the front office isn't doing enough. And they should have. If the Phillies were able to do it, we should have been able to do it too. Here's the thing, though. The Phillies had to give up their number 1 prospect, only 20 years old, like Keiber, and I think it was 3 other prospects. The Marlins wanted Alex Verdugo and Keiber Ruiz. So not only did they want our 2 top prospects, our number 1 and our number 2, but 2 top 10 positional prospects, meaning Alex Verdugo is a top 10 outfielder prospect. Keiber Ruiz is actually the number 1 pitching prospect according to some sites. Catching prospect according to some sites. And they're 2 top 100 players. So they wanted to take away our best 2 prospects because they knew they weren't getting Bellinger. And I don't think that would have been it either. So I do understand why the Dodgers did not go all out and just spend everything. They do have Martin and Barnes. I know that's not that exciting. But I think with Seager coming back, with picking up A.J. Pollock and Turner, as long as he doesn't get hurt in spring training, going to be fully healthy from his wrist injury last year, I think we're going to see a lot of consistency out of this lineup, where it's going to be better than last year, where we don't necessarily have to rely on Barnes and Martin too much, that as long as they're doing their jobs behind the plate, I think we'll be good to go. And then there's always Will Smith being called up, and a lot of people expect Keiber Ruiz ready to go in 2020. So it's different as fans. We view things differently than the front office. I get it, but I kind of agree with this move. No, I do agree with this move. I don't think I would have been happy giving up our top 2 prospects who are very controllable. One of them is, I think Verdugo's only 22. Keiber's only 20. Our window isn't closing. It may be closing for some players like Kershaw, Turner, the older guys, Hill, and maybe even Jansen with us because of his contract if he doesn't opt out. But the team's window to me isn't closing because Walker Buehler, Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger, and then you've got Alex Verdugo, Keiber Ruiz. So I don't know. I don't want to keep going on this. It doesn't matter. He's with the Phillies now, but just be as upset as you want. It is what it is. Just also try and see both sides of it if you can. If not, do whatever you want. Doesn't matter. We're all fans. We can get upset over things even if we don't agree. Now this stuff is more MLB related, but it would of course affect the Dodgers because it's rules. But it's actually really interesting stuff, what they're looking at possibly changing in these next few years or even this upcoming season. Based on what MLB and the Players Association are coming up with. So this is actually from an article from Ken Rosenthal. Part of it's from his article Tuesday night, and then another part of it is actually from Jason Stark on Wednesday night. Both of these articles are on The Athletic. You have to have a subscription, so if you want to read them, make sure you sign up for that. It's, I think, like $5 a month. I don't know. It's totally worth it. I love it. Everything's in depth. Their app is super easy to use, and they know what they're talking about. But let's jump into this because there's quite a few. So a lot of these things, a lot of these rules probably aren't going to happen this year. They may have to wait until the collective bargaining agreement in a couple years to change some of them up. Right now, MLB's main thing is worrying about the pace of gameplay. and speeding games up so they're not lasting as long, which is the switching out pitchers causing these things, the constantly holding up someone, not that they're going to change the instant replay rule, but stuff like that. But pulling pitchers out after facing one guy and using 3 relief pitchers, whatever, stuff like that, bringing up DH roster. So I'm going to stop talking about it like that, and we're just going to jump into it. One of the rules that MLB had proposed was pitchers must face a minimum of 3 batters before being pulled out of the game. And a reason why this is kind of being brought up is because of how many pitchers were pulled last year, how much time it took out of the game. Sometimes you'd see Roberts bring in 3 guys in 1 inning, and it's just a lot, drags out the game. But if you remember Game 5 of the NLCS, the Brewers started Wade Miley, and he only faced 1 batter. So what the Brewers did was they made the Dodgers set their whole lineup to Wade Miley, and then they came in, which was, Wade Miley's a right-hander, I think, and then they threw him 1 batter, he walked the guy, and then they brought in someone else. That was their plan from the very beginning. They brought in a lefty, I believe, or if either way, they brought in the opposite of Miley because they wanted to screw up our lineup and stuff like that. The league doesn't really want to be dealing with pulling pitchers like that. And they also think it'll bring more offense to the games because pitchers have to face batters who they might not match up great against based on lefty versus lefty, righty versus righty. So that one's going to be interesting. I think it'll happen. Don't know when, but we'll have to wait and see. Another one it looks like they want to do, which they want to try and do this season. Now, just so you guys know, for all of these rules, Manfred is allowed to make any of these decisions without getting the association to agree. However, by doing that, he could piss off a lot of players, and then they could have issues when the new agreement comes around, possibly causing a strike, whatever it may be. So he really doesn't want to do those things, but he is capable of doing that. So just so you guys know, the union doesn't have to agree. Manfred could make these decisions on his own. But another one they're looking at for 2019 would be reducing mound visits, reducing it from 6 to 4. And then the following year, they want to reduce it from 4 to 3. And this one was another proposal by MLB. And so they want to cut back on how many mound visits the catcher's going out there or pitching coaches going out there because it holds up the game. Another thing they've been talking about is actually the roster, which this one's a little interesting to me. I feel like it would hurt the Dodgers a little bit more because they have so much depth, but teams have complained about that in the past, that when you face teams like the Dodgers, you're facing potentially 40 major league ready type players when a lot of teams don't have that deep a depth. But anyways, so it includes an expansion of rosters from 25 to 26 in 2020. That's the plan. With an accompanying reduction from 40 to 28 in September. So it would go down from 40 guys. You can now only have 28. So the Dodgers would have to be a lot more choosy about which September call-ups they have. And so the union's proposal to this was a couple things. They said all 30 teams would be required to expand rosters to 28 in December. Right now, roster expansion is optional. You don't have to. So the issue with this is teams can leave minor leaguers down in the system instead of bringing them up. And then it affects their service time, which means the team then controls them for longer, doesn't have to pay them as much, but they still get plenty of production from the player. And this is a big issue with players, understandably, because they're losing out on signing free agent contracts. So that's where this one comes into play that the association wants to put into play. And it's all teams would also have to be required to add 4 minor leaguers to the roster after the conclusion of minor league playoffs. And since that would increase the total number to more than 28, each team would have to announce a 28-man active roster for every game from September 1st and on, kind of just like the way the NFL does it, actives, inactives, before, after games, and you announce it every game, and starting pitchers could not be part of the inactives, according to the latest proposal. These are all direct quotes out of Jason Stark and Ken Rosenthal's articles, just to explain it the best I can. The thing with MLB is one of MLB's concerns about expanding the roster 2 years ago was the teams would just use the new rules to load up on more relief pitchers, and they don't want that. MLB does not want teams just loading up on relief pitchers. So the league's proposal would limit pitching staffs to 12 men through August and 13 active pitchers in September. this would also be accompanied by the rule that all relievers have to face at least 3 hitters, a rule that would make it less likely to need 8-man and 9-man bullpens, which is also under discussion. What's also under discussion is for them to prohibit position players from pitching except extra innings. So they don't want position players out there just not having to waste their pitchers in the bullpen if it's a complete blowout game. So MLB really wants to make the teams get out there, play, compete, do a little bit more of that, which makes sense. So we'll see how that one goes. Another thing the association proposed, which is actually, I like this one because it makes teams have to be competitive instead of tanking. They want to lower a team's draft position if the team doesn't meet a specific amount of wins over a certain number of seasons. So what it's looking like it would be is if you lose 90 plus games in back-to-back seasons, your draft pick. If you're tanking and you're not being competitive and not trying to put the best team out there, it ends up hurting you, which I think is a good thing. I think they also want to possibly reward the teams that make the playoffs with not high draft picks, but lower draft picks for showing them that if you're going to be competitive, we'll give you more picks. I like it. I think it's a way to make teams be more competitive instead of sitting back and watching owners or GMs tank to get the best picks, not want to spend the money on players, which all fans deserve. We deserve to see the best team out there. No excuses for that. Another one, which is a very controversial one, especially for National League Baseball fans, is bringing the DH to the NL. At first, in Rosenthal's article had said it would actually be as early as 2019. Right before I started recording this, NBC Sports came out today with an article saying Manfred said no DH until at least 2020 and that their main focus is pace of play, pace of game. So that won't be an issue come this year. However, I know a lot of people, NL fans, hate the DH. AL fans love it. I want to know what you guys think about this one. Do you want the DH? Do you not? I personally don't want the DH, but it's just because I feel like real baseball takes the strategy. You have to deal with pitchers, double switch. However, I do understand the excitement of having a good at-bat up there every single time and not the for sure out. I also know it would benefit the Dodgers because they could take a guy like Muncy who wouldn't have to play defense anymore and stick him in the DH. So I don't want it because I love the baseball I grew up watching, but it would benefit the Dodgers. So if it happens, I'll probably be bummed out, but I'll quickly turn it around once we start winning more games because of it. Another one they've talked about was moving the mound further back as well as lowering the mound. They want to do this because they hope it'll cause more offense. Pitchers are throwing harder than ever before, making it more difficult for batters to hit when they're throwing 100, 101, 102, whatever it may be from 60 feet away. So don't know if that one will happen. It would take a lot of adjusting, I feel like. So we'll see how that one goes. I don't think it'll happen anytime soon. Like I said, it just seems weird. You'd have to change it in the minors. You'd have to change it. I feel like every level of baseball that plays would have to be changed, and it starts affecting everything. And how do you have a minor leaguer play or take a big leaguer who's been playing at this the whole time and then go, okay, we're going to change it, someone like Kershaw. So I don't know how that one will go. It's a little strange. I understand the meaning behind it, but I don't know if that's something they should be messing with. Another thing they want to do is they want to change the strike zone. MLB had wanted to do this because they want more offense. As of now, the strike zone is supposed to be the hollow under the kneecap. They want to move it to above the knees, hoping that this would make it a little bit better and more hits, which is always a good thing for baseball because that's what fans want to see, at least the excitement level of it. So again, I don't know if that one will actually happen. It's a little bit more difficult to try and do because it's human beings as umpires. So but that's really it for rule changes. Just so you guys know, this seems kind of stupid to me, but they changed the disabled list. It's now being called the injured list. I'm still probably going to call it the DL. It sounds better. I just like it. I don't know why they found it necessary to change it to injured list instead of disabled. Maybe it's the word disabled. I could understand that. I've never heard anyone complain about it, but maybe that's their choice. I didn't see why they did it, but just so you guys know, it's now the IL. If you hear anyone say this player's going on the IL, that's what it is. Football, it's the IR, injured reserve. So, But that's it for this week. If you guys enjoyed that video, please hit the like button and subscribe. It would mean the world to me and I would appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your support, and I'll catch you guys next week when our players are at Camelback Ranch. All right, have a good weekend, guys, and I'll see you later. Bye.